afternoon. This is a hearing of the Chatham Conservation Commission being held on March 26, 2025, in accordance with the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Town of Chatham Wetlands Protection Bylaw and Regulations. My name is Karen Latin, and I serve as the chair. Today's hearing is being broadcast live on Xfinity Channel 1072 and is being recorded for the on-demand archives available on the town's website. It's being conducted in person, by phone, and by video conference. The agenda, instructions on how to attend, and copies of documents for review are posted on the town's website. To all participants, whether you're attending by phone or online, please remain muted unless you've been recognized by the chair. When recognized, please identify yourself for the record. If you're attending by phone, you can mute and unmute by using *6. If you're online and you are not a commissioner, please keep your camera turned off unless you have been recognized. Indicate that you wish to speak by using the raised hand feature. So that we have a record of a quorum, I will now ask each commissioner to indicate their presence. Vice Chair Elise Gordon.
Present.
Janet Williams.
Present.
Cheryl Meservey.
Present.
Eric Hilbert.
Present.
Bob Delvecchio.
Present.
Paul Johnson.
Present.
And I'm here, and we have established that we have a quorum. First, before we get into the agenda, we have an opportunity for public comments or future agenda items. If anybody has any, it would be any items other than what's on the agenda today. At that time, you'll have the ability to speak when that property is being discussed. I'm not seeing anybody online, and I don't see anybody here. So we'll continue. Before we begin the agenda, Catherine, are there any announcements of any requests for continuances today?
We have 2 requests for continuance. Request for an order of conditions at 36 Dune Drive. The applicant has requested a continuance to May 7, 2025. Notice of intent for 186 Strong Island Road. The applicant has requested a continuance to April 2nd, 2025.
Thank you. At this point, Catherine Ricks, Chatham's Assistant Conservation Agent, will now lead us through the agenda.
Request for an order of conditions at 36 Dune Drive, map 16A, parcel 10-C6 for Richard Puccio Jr., Mass DEP, SE 10-3707. Raise the southerly portion of the dwelling, reconstruct the portion of the dwelling within minor lateral expansion, raise the floor to meet the design flood elevation, remove the deck, add a step. The applicant has requested a continuance to May 7, 2025.
Okay.
I move that we continue 36 Dune Drive to May 7th, 2025.
Second.
Okay, Cheryl?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Janet?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
And I say aye. Okay, the next, please.
Request for a field change at 470 Shore Road, map 16F, parcel 15A-8 for James S. and Elizabeth A. Eisenstein, Mass DEP, SE 10-3554, proposed rock revetment reconstruction, vertical and lateral extension, fiber rolls and associated site improvements. Field change request is to change the access and staging during construction of the revetment.
Okay, do we have anyone here for this?
I don't see the contractor who was
No.
requesting this. I don't know if we want to table it or if you wanted me to just put the proposed site plan change up.
I think we will table it for now, and hopefully he will join. I'm seeing that it's Denny.
Yeah.
Didn't you?
I assisted in it because we went out to the site with Wilkinson.
Right.
And he coordinated with Wilkinson on the change going the same access path that Wilkinson Ecological Design did for their proposed plantings.
And is anybody here from Wilkinson, maybe? Ah, maybe, can you speak to this a little?
I can answer a few questions.
Okay, good.
I'm afraid my knowledge of Matt Lautenberger from Wilkinson Ecological. I am working with James from the owner of the property on the restoration of the bank.
Right.
I've talked to the folks at Easy Does It about the access route, so I can answer questions you might have about our plans to restore afterwards. But in terms of what type of machinery they'll be using and how they do it like that, I'm
Right.
afraid I won't be able to.
All right, well, let's see if anybody has any questions about the part you can address. Anybody have anything? I have one. And it's the part you can address, so it's even better. The hedge that's coming out,
Yes.
what is going to go there when it goes back, when you restore it?
The last that I heard, the plan was to transplant temporarily the plants and then restore them back to their original location.
Do you know what they are?
I believe they are privet.
That's what I thought. Any chance we could get them to put something that's not privet?
I'd be happy to ask the client that.
Okay, that would be really nice. Does anybody have any other?
No, I agree with you. I think that's a good idea.
I just would really like to see something that's not privet. Anybody? No? Okay, well then, since nobody has any questions, does anybody have any questions about the work part of it? All right, I think then we can go to,
Tonight, can we assume that there's no change to that from what was approved? The only thing that's changing is the location of the access? Okay, because if there's
Yeah.
no other change in terms of work protocol, machinery, or anything like that, that's fine.
because they didn't ask for any change to
No.
what was originally issued.
Yep, okay,
And Catherine did meet with them.
okay.
All right, so I think we can have a motion to approve.
Motion to approve? I move that we approve the field change request for 470 Shore Road.
Second.
Okay, Cheryl,
Aye.
Paul,
Aye.
Janet,
Aye.
Elise.
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
and I say aye. So that will move forward. All right, Catherine, the next, please.
Field change request at 75 Tillipy Run, map 14A3, parcel 1N131 for Thomas and Pamela Skutek, Mass DEP, SE 10-3547, Shoreline Protection Project, field change request to address design changes to the revetment slope, revetment, and grading to transition between 75 and 97 Tillipy. Revetment cross-section was revised to conform to Army Corps design guidance. Revetment stair design was revised to be built atop a lower layer of armor stone and with a reinforced concrete footing, and a plan for site access and staging has been added. And I recuse myself from making comments on this project.
Right. Thank you. Hi, how are you?
Afternoon, Commissioners. I have a presentation to give, so I will
Great,
screen share.
I appreciate that. Yeah, he hasn't. Also, if you'd please identify yourself for the record.
Dan Charmickley with Ty and Bond, and I'm joined online by Brian Angus, also with Ty and Bond.
Oh, okay, thank you. Yeah, I do see Brian Eads on.
All right. So we're here today for, to request a field change for 75 Tillipy Run. So an update on the status of the project. So project activities at the neighboring property 97, I would say are substantially complete at this point. I only mention that because these projects are sharing access, so they're somewhat related to each other. Construction at 75 is set to commence shortly under the original order of conditions, which was approved on February of 2023. We had a pre-construction meeting with the town on March 10th, at which point there were a few changes in the final design plans as opposed to the order of condition plans. So we were notified to come in and request a field change. So I'm here today to walk the commission through the field changes, what they are, why we made them, and
Great.
that's it. So summary of field changes. So we changed the slope of the revetment from a 2-on-1 to a 1.5-on-1, so it's slightly steeper than what was initially approved. The transition between 75 and 97 was revised the grading in that area mostly was revised to match the proposed grading at 97. If we remember, kind of rewinding, I know it feels like a short amount of time ago, but at 97, when this was approved, there was no proposed work at 97. Life was good, the old revetment was there, no
Right.
issues. So now fast forward, the work is already done over there under the emergency, and so now we had to revise this transition to reflect that. The revetment cross-section was revised to meet Army Corps standards, essentially just got a little bit thicker. I'll walk you through those changes on an upcoming slide. The revetment stair detail, the stairs are the same size, but a concrete footing was added to the stairs, and now the stairs are built on top of a layer of armor stone instead of on top of bedding stone. And then the site access plan is included in your set there. That site access was approved under the order 497, so it's the same plan, nothing new there. Also going on here, let's see, the changes, I would say, are relatively minor in nature. The actual footprint of the overall structure, so when I say the structure, I mean the revetment stone, the stairs, and the articulated concrete block mat on the crest, has actually shrunk by about 200 square feet over what was originally approved. And the changes that were made to the plans don't negate or change any of the conditions in the approved order of conditions. All right, so this is the plan of what was approved under the order of conditions. So you can see here, we have our stone revetment here. We have this, I'll call it a little bit of an awkward transition, but it's what was needed at the time to go from elevation approximately 16 up here down to the neighboring site at 97, so which is about +8. So we had about an 8-foot drop there. As I said, that's not the case anymore. The revetment came up, we have the crest elevation +16, and then there was an articulated concrete block mat that was behind that to provide a little bit of additional protection there. We had an access stairway right here to get down to the water, and then there was 2 dry wells to be installed in the upland portion of the site, and some grading to kind of pitch the upland into those dry wells for infiltration. So this is the field change plan. So what we have here, you can see the revised grading over here at the site at 97. We're coming across with a revetment crest here in the same location to meet the crest at 97. Similar articulated concrete block mat. It actually shrank in width about a foot or so. And then we have the revetment here, which I said was changed from 2 horizontal and 1 vertical to 1.5 on 1. We have our access staircase in the same location, same width, and then we have our dry wells up top with similar grading as to what was previously proposed. So this is a comparison of the cross sections here, just so you can kind of see what the differences are here. So we have what's in gray, kind of I'll say behind the picture, is that was what was initially permitted there. So it's the 2-on-1 slope there, the 2 layers of armor stone there, the thin layer of bedding stone, and then geotextile. So our revised cross section, so we went from 1 layer of 3 to 4 ton armor stone, and then a layer of 2 to 3 ton armor stone to 2 layers of 3 to 4 ton armor stone. And then the bedding stone was changed from 1 foot thick to 2 feet thick. We still have geotextile, just like in the old design. The toe, due to steepening the structure, the toe was actually pulled in about 6 feet across the length of the project, so the footprint actually shrank on the outshore, or I should say how far out it is into the water actually shrank a little bit. And then the mat up top actually shrank about a foot or so on the backside here. And that is pretty much it for the revetment cross section. For the stairway comparison, so the detail up top here is what was in the original order of conditions. So you can see stone slabs pinned together on top of the bedding stone. And then we have these blocks placed down in the beach area, kind of the toe of the revetment. And then the detail in the bottom right here is the proposed stair detail here. So what we've done is we're building the stairs on top of a layer of armor stone. So should there ever be a failure of the stairway in a severe event, you always at least have a layer of armor stone there. You always have that base level of protection. Then there's a concrete footing underneath that to support the stairs, and then the granite is pinned to the concrete. So the footing adds some significant benefits. If there's ever an undermining event, these stairs will not collapse into the water. It would buy the owner some time in the future if it was to become undermined to actually fix the issue or come up with a plan for it instead of just having them collapse if they're undermined. Similar handrail, that's pretty much unchanged. For grading comparison, so this is a close-up of the transition from 75 to 97, right in this area here. So you can see we kind of had this awkward transition here, and the articulated concrete block mat tapered down to this corner here. We had a drop of about 8 feet here. In the revised plan here, the block mat comes over a little further. We had a little bit of increase in block mat area here, but to offset that, we reduced the width of it overall, and we also reduced the footprint out into the water to keep the net area of the structure less than what it was. And then this block mat meets up with the revetment crest of the neighboring property to provide full and total protection across that whole width there. And then site access plan. So the original set of plans didn't have a site access plan and staging area with it. This plan is directly taken out of the order that was done for 97, so I believe most of you have been out there, but site access road comes down. This area has already been cleared and was used as staging for the work at 97. It'll be the same area used for this project. And then approved planting plan. So the plan that you have in your set is an older version of the plan. It is not the plan with the approved order of conditions. So this is the correct plan here that was with the order of conditions. So you've had, essentially there were no changes to the planting plan with the caveat that the plantings in this area here were essentially moved up the hill, and that the area that was here was now coordinated with the staging plan. So all of the area cleared for staging will now be planted. So the field change plan here, you can see all we did was take the planting area that was down here, which will now be the articulated concrete block, moved it up the hill. It's in the same buffer area, if you will. It's between the 50 and top of Coastal Bank, just like the old one was. And that area will be planted. And then, if you remember from the order for 97, this plan was included, which restores the site access area coming down from 97 here. So that's your 50, that's your 100-foot buffer there. And then just a smaller side note here. So the applicant name change, the original order was done under the Chatham Seabreeze LLC. That entity has been dissolved, and the property is now held in Thomas and Pamela Skutak's name. So just a formality, but it's still the same owner, it's just a different entity name. And with that, I'll open it up to questions for the commission.
Before I ask other commissioners, I'm a little confused. I was out there on Monday.
Sure.
To see it, because one of our commissioners is new and had never been there. You say the pre-construction meeting happened on March 10th, yet it looks like a lot of the revetment's been built. The stairs are definitely built.
The stairs?
So were they done before the meeting?
No.
I'm just curious.
No work had been done out there before the meeting.
Oh, okay, so you've been working since the meeting?
Because
Okay.
at the meeting, it was discussed that they wanted to start some work on the stairs.
Okay, and the revetment, because it looks like it's got a lot of new stone.
I guess the revetment that needed to be removed to work on the stairs was removed, but they haven't, I'll say, formally started the actual revetment construction.
Oh, okay.
It was revetment moved to access the stairs.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, there's no wholesale, construction of the area.
Yeah, it just
Yeah.
looked like maybe had been started. So I wanted to clarify that. All right, I'm going to open it to other commissioners first. Anybody? Go ahead, Janet.
I'll start. So, I'd like to ask you about the change in the slope.
Sure.
2-to-1 to 1.5-to-1.
Yep.
We had spent a lot of time on the three properties talking about the slope, mostly in terms of the gentler the slope, the less energy deflection. So we had pushed hard to get 2-to-1, given this is a very high-energy location. And you say it's being requested to match the proposed slopes on the adjacent properties. Now, maybe it's on us if 97 was approved at 1.5. I have to look at that order, but, okay, for that side, but 59 is 2-1, not 1.5.
Believe it's 1.5.
I checked the order yesterday, it's 1.5.
So I'll have to double check it.
Yeah, because that's going to mean, I don't know what you would propose then for transitioning to 59.
So
Or do they need to come in for a change to change their slope?
then we may need to come in for a change for that. So 97 was approved at 1.5 to 1. That's what was approved there. If we go back to the slide here showing the transition, so 97 lost a ton of property. When this initial design was done, we didn't have to coordinate anything with 97, other than essentially just.
Right, I think they chose not to be a part of the
Correct,
process.
exactly.
Right, right.
So that one was approved at 1.5 on 1. That property, they lost a lot of property there, so that whole revetment is kind of pushed back inland. So
Okay.
our goal here is to, I guess, match those as much as we can. We already had to provide somewhat of a transition in this area, and if we were at 2 on 1, this would be an even more abrupt transition. Those transitions are extremely prone to damage. Those areas where you have kind of sharper turns, if you have wave action, you have storm events, those are the most vulnerable areas to damage in a storm event. So doing it the way we did, I guess, lessened the severity of that transition there, to make it as smooth as we could here, while still balancing those two properties.
Okay, so I'm following that, but I am looking at the order right now for 59. And it does say, after several hearings, preparation of subsequent storm wave analysis, further expert testimony and feedback, the applicant revised the proposal to reconstruct the revetment at a slope of 2-1. So my question to you is, what is the plan for where 75 and 59 meet?
I guess we'll have to get a field change for that. I mean, we can transition the slopes either way. This slope aligns with the other slopes there, and we're doing our best to keep a continuous line here.
Well, that was what the intent was. So
Yeah.
what would happen if, how would you transition to 95 if we were to say, no, you can't change the slope of 75 to 97, I mean? How would that?
So the transition would be, I guess, more abrupt. This would be pushed out about 6 feet further out into the water. And it's doable, but it makes the revetment more vulnerable to wave attack, to being undermined, to damage. Those corners are the most vulnerable parts of any project.
What about if you took it from the top side rather than the bottom?
I guess it could be done, but then they're losing a bunch of area up there, and we're punishing 75 for what was done at 97.
I just don't want to see this whole thing end up at 1.5 to 1. It just, that feels like a retreat.
Absolutely. We spent a year on it.
Yep.
Cheryl?
Well, I was just going to say, if we change the next one, do we have to go all the way to 27 or
Yeah,
whatever?
yes,
yeah.
Are we,
Yeah,
the whole line is what it sounds like, so maybe,
right, the effort was to have all three the
whole,
same.
yeah,
Yep,
yeah.
Yep. Okay, well, I'll yield to whoever else has questions at the moment. Oh, I know, I'm sorry, I have one more about the stair foundation.
Sure.
So on that, could you show that slide again, the comparison?
Stairs were this way. There we go.
So crushed stone was the foundation of the stone stairway, and now it's sitting on the articulated concrete block? Can you,
The stairs are sitting on a layer of armor stone with some crushed stone to fill in the voids here. And there's a concrete footing below them.
what difference does that make in terms of the integrity of the stairs?
So the way this initial stair was designed and the way these are pins, if this toe ever gets eroded, this entire stair will just fall down like dominoes. And the whole thing will tilt towards the ocean. It'll be dangerous to walk on. It's vulnerable to that being a revetment. Beaches fluctuate out there, things erode, they come back. it would be very vulnerable to that as is. With this, if this erodes a little bit, comes down, goes up a couple feet, it will not affect the staircase as a
Can
whole.
you explain that a little bit more? Why is that, what difference is that making? Why is that less vulnerable to, I mean, we're
Because, oh,
about
sure.
undercutting here for
So
the
this
obvious
is,
reasons.
so these are the granite slabs right here for the stairs. This is your reinforced concrete footing under here. So, and this is your concrete block here, which is attached to the stairs. So this whole thing works as a system together. And if this was to become undermined here, the stairs will hold on to the block
How are they attached?
with rebar, steel rebar.
Okay.
Yep. Whereas this right here, these are just pinned together, and if this is undermined, these are just gonna fall over, and the stairs are just gonna go with it.
Okay, so this change is being proposed to improve the integrity of the stair
Yes,
part?
yes,
And
and,
given again what we know about waves in this location?
correct.
Okay, all right. That's all I have for now, thank you.
Anybody? Bob?
Yeah, I just have a comment. I think 27 is 1.5 to 1 as well.
Yeah,
The
I
slope.
think they were taller, and then it got, because of that being the weather station, they needed more of a, and I was looking for it, but right now I haven't found it. See the other
Madam Chair.
piece, but not that.
That's correct.
So, I have. Sure. I was just going to ask a couple questions, but go ahead. I'm not seeing until 27.
Thank you. Mike Ford, I represent Tom and Pamela Zutak. I was listening to Commissioner Williams, and I was here during those orders of conditions, and she's correct, a lot of time was spent on that. But subsequent to that all being put in place, from a permitting standpoint, was when we had the storms on 97, and 97 just, their whole revetment fell into the water, and then the first design for 97, you may recall, approved under emergency order, was just steel pilings. It was just going to be a steel straight wall that was going to come over. And so, fortunately, as it turned out, they didn't have to do that for a variety of reasons. And the revetment kind of was a dynamic situation. It changed as it was built out there. And this change in slope, Commissioner Williams, is a reaction to that, to try now to make it all fit. And so this was not an attempt by the Zutaks or their engineers to kind of revisit the slope issue that you had worked so hard on, but to react to the reality of what happened out there after all that had been agreed upon. So I just wanted to make sure that commissioners maybe who weren't involved in that understand that that's how it came forward.
Almost all of us were involved in it, just FYI. We remember it well, and thank you.
Okay.
I have a couple things. I mean, the slope change does bother me. And as a caveat, also, I spoke, Ted Keon could not be here because he's at another meeting, and I had a call with him and Paul Whiteman, our agent, before the meeting, and Ted, as far as how it's what's presented, he has no concerns, just so that that's out there. Originally, and maybe it's not needed now, there was a mow strip on the western property edge. And is that gone now?
Mow strip. So, mow strip, which includes this area.
It was like along the access road.
Matt Lottenberger from Wilkinson. We are maintaining that 10-foot mow strip so that invasives can be monitored.
Okay.
We,
There we go. To the next, yeah, there we
we're
go.
still, you can see it's still there in that one.
Does it say it's there? I'm not reading. Oh, okay.
You can see it's by the number 1 edit there.
Yeah.
Now, maybe I'm looking at a different, I have a different plan.
I, no,
We all have a different plan. So that's not helpful, unfortunately, because we all should have the same plan. As a matter of fact, that plan looks different than what I have physically here, which
Correct.
is
I,
what.
and I mentioned that in the presentation. That is the wrong plan
Okay,
you have in front of you.
But we need, so is there any change to the planting? Because that looks more like the planting plan that was originally proposed.
Right, so, oh, yeah.
We're planting the same number of plants in what we're showing here, and then there is the additional plants that are going in along that access path area, but the planting is still the same size.
And the same amount of plants, because there was a difference in what I was given as the field change application.
Yes.
So do we, Catherine, Crystal, Paul, do we have this planting plan as the field change? Planting plan?
I think Crystal can address that.
Okay, I
She's
thought
on.
so. Crystal?
I think the only one I have is the one that I posted.
Right. So we need that. I mean, usually we need what's being proposed in order to make a decision.
Understood.
My next question is the planting plan that's the access road. Sorry, it's
Yes.
a very easy question.
Okay.
Is that just what was originally proposed with 97, and you're just providing it
It's
here?
just, it's informational there, correct? That's already been approved under that order.
Because it says it's for 75, and it
Because it's
it
on
gets
75's
confusing.
I know. It's on 75's property.
I know it is. It's just, probably it would have been good to have it say per order, and we have the order. It just, as we're trying to figure these things out. I think it's very unfortunate that because 97 didn't act and had this emergency where everything fell into the water and then had to have a 2-to-1, a 1.5 to 1 revetment, that now we're visiting, having to change all of that work that we did, and it wasn't done lightly. Now we have to change everything else, and it looks like you'll be back before us for a second property when you get ready to do that one. That's just my thoughts. Paul, go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to reiterate that 27 Tilapy was 1.5 to 1, as
Right.
Commissioner.
I think the
Rebecca
only other one
said.
we'll have a problem with is 59.
Right, and when that comes in, I mean, we don't even know if they're going to move forward or when they're going to move forward, but certainly can address it at that time.
It's
And I
just-
agree with you. I guess we'll have to deal with 97 with the certificate of compliance when it comes in.
Yeah, because there's, I think, a few other things.
Right.
All right. Thank you, Paul. Anybody? Janet, did you have anything else? Yes. Janet has something.
Do we have a coverage table, a new coverage table on this, or because there was a change, right?
It was a slight reduction. One was not included. The area of the structure was reduced by about 200 square feet, though.
It initially
Okay.
said there was a reduction. Go ahead.
One final question. So the changes, you have a good slide that show the changes that are proposed to conform to the Army Corps design guidance. And that has to do with the size.
Yep.
And so will this, is there an impact again to the neighboring property at 59 if you make this change? Would that logically, should that be changed as well to conform to the same design guidance?
The revetment at 59 is designed with the same guidance. The construction drawings are.
It's already like this, or it needs to be changed to this?
It will be. I guess I have done that. It has not come in front of you.
Okay.
Okay, So that'll
Make sure it
come,
comes before the
Sure.
pre-construction.
right.
Anybody have anything else? Cheryl?
It feels like our hands are tied as far as,
I agree.
so we may not be happy, but I'm not sure we have an option.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
tough. It's a tough pill to swallow after all of our work. And it was many, many, many meetings and hours and visits too.
Reports and testing.
Yeah, everything just got negated pretty much. So, I guess we can go to a motion to approve. I say that with,
Shall I add parentheticals? No. I move that we close the hearing on 75 Tillaby Run and approve the order as written.
Second.
okay, Cheryl.
No, wait a minute,
No, no,
stop,
no, no,
stop.
no, no.
No,
This is a field change.
This is
Field
the
change.
field change.
I'm sorry, I move that we
Can I just
approve.
ask, so can I just,
Yeah.
before we make the motion, is this subject to the provision of the revised planting plan? 'Cause
Yes.
We're, okay.
All right,
Subject to us receiving that Crystal has that.
I got it. I move that we approve the field change,
Okay.
subject,
Oh, wait, Paul's got his hand up. Go ahead,
Yeah.
Paul.
I just wanted to catch you before they made the motion, sorry. Attorney Ford's there, but we discussed the commission in our pre-agenda meetings, having this become the official plan of record by recording it against the order at the Registry of Deeds. Is
Yes.
that possible, Mike?
Can you do that? Will they take it? Okay.
Do you have more to say than that? Okay,
No.
Okay.
he says we
Oh,
can.
talking to me. Okay, great.
Thank you, Paul.
Well, that'll simplify the
right.
CRC issues.
Okay, Elise.
let's try.
Again.
Third time will be the charm. I move that we approve the field change on 75 Tillaby Run, subject to planting plan revisions and adopt as the official record.
Second.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Paul? Aye. Janet?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
And I say aye hesitantly, but I do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next. Catherine.
Okay, request to amend an order of conditions at 108 Beach Plum Road, map 4D, parcel 23, for R. Paul Detweiler, Mass DEP, SE 10-3674, demolish existing dwelling and cottage, construct new dwelling and cottage. Amendment is to move the cottage to the east and reconfigure the driveway, Phase 2.
Good afternoon, David Clark, Clark Engineering. We're here for Phase 1.
We skipped, wait a minute.
$498.
We need Shore. Sorry, we're on Shore Road. First.
That was,
Yeah, I was
by
going,
accident.
wait
Yep.
a minute. That didn't sound like what we were.
because I was not on 75, so I scrolled by, sorry.
Yep, that's okay.
Request to amend an order of conditions at 498 and 500 Shore Road, map 16G, parcels 3D-A5 and 3E-A6 for Stephen and Stacy Brierton, Mass DEP, SE 10-3645, access stairs and bank stabilization. Second amendment proposes approximately 9,200 square feet of invasive plant management and restoration of a native plant community on the coastal bank. Draft amended order of conditions.
Okay. Do we have anybody? Yep.
Hi, Matt Lautenberger from Wilkinson here. Right, so the one thing that I wanted to ask for the commission's consideration is that we would ideally be doing this work this spring, and we're running very close up against, obviously, the April 1st deadline. We do have people on our crew who are qualified to do bird sweeps, so if the commission felt it was reasonable to allow us to do a check for birds ahead of any work on site, we would appreciate that.
Let's see. Right now, in the order, the amended order, do we have anything? We don't have anything about the time of year. Surprising.
The original order.
Yes.
Yeah,
I know,
What's the date in the original order?
April 1.
April 1st.
And as a so, I see. When would you want to do the sweep?
Ideally, we'd be doing it the week of the 15th.
I think that's okay.
I think we can add something here. So, let's see. Are you in it?
Yep.
Oh, okay. I didn't see that you
Do you
were.
know how long it will take?
It should only take about a week, and we can do the clearing itself, the stuff that would be not allowed under that order, within a day or so.
Okay. So we also had, did you read the amended order?
I have not seen the amended order.
Oh, okay. So I guess I'll tell you what it says. We have, for findings, that the targeted area is 60 to 70% invasive. Existing vegetation on the upper half of the bank is dominated by a dense cover of state-listed invasive and non-native plant species such as shrub honeysuckle, Asiatic bittersweet, vine honeysuckle, multiflora rose, Rosa rugosa, and English ivy. The lower portion of the bank does include a native tree canopy. The presence of the invasive shrubs in this area is limited due to the shady conditions. Number 2, existing native trees and shrubs will be preserved. Number 3, 1 sycamore maple will be removed from within the access path. 3 native white oak trees will be planted. Number 4, 98 native shrubs will be planted. Number 5, no planting shall occur within the access easement on the coastal bank. Number 6, a mow strip will be placed along the north side of the property. Number 7, vines and small shrubs will be removed. All roots will remain in place and allowed to decay. Okay. Conditions. All conditions of the original order shall remain in effect except only to the extent necessary to fulfill the amendment. Number 2, all the construction notes on the plan and construction protocols contained in the applicant's narrative are hereby incorporated by reference and made a part of the order conditions. Number 3, 1 sycamore maple will be removed from the access path. 3 native white oaks will be planted. Number 4, 98 native shrubs will be planted. Number 5, a mow strip will be placed along the north side of the property. Number 6, all bare soils will be seeded with a native grass species and covered in a biodegradable mulch product. Biodegradable erosion control blanketing will be installed. Number 7, no new permanent irrigation will be installed. Number 8, applicant must adhere to best management practices for removal of invasive vegetation to minimize the use of pesticides. Use of low-volume foliar method is permitted only to treat species with stems that are too small to allow for effective cut and wipe treatment, like vine, honeysuckle, and English ivy. Number 9, existing root systems of all vegetation shall remain in place and allowed to decompose. Number 10, managing invasive species demands a commitment to vigilance and some level of sustained action in perpetuity. Ongoing invasive plant management is required to maintain the mitigation area to ensure that any adjacent invasive vegetation does not mitigate into the mitigation area. Applicant must monitor the mitigation area at least 3 to 4 times during each growing season to check for the presence of the invasive vegetation. All invasive vegetation in the mitigation area shall be promptly removed and/or treated and properly disposed of. If appropriate, a 3-foot wide mowed strip may be maintained between the new mitigation plants and the remaining invasive plants to prevent easy mitigation of the invasive plants in the mitigation area. This condition shall be recorded as an ongoing condition on the certificate of compliance. And then we've added applicant may conduct a sweep for bird nesting sites on or before April 15th. How's that?
That's perfect, thank you.
Okay, any commissioners have anything else to add? Okay, then I think we can have a motion to approve it.
I move that we approve the amended order of conditions for 498 and 500 Shore Road.
Second.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Paul?
Done. Aye.
Janet?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Bob?
Abstain.
And I say aye. Okay, so you've got it.
Thank you.
Okay. Next one.
Now,
Yeah.
request to amend an order of conditions at 108 Beach Plum Road, map 4D, parcel 23, for R. Paul Detweiler, Mass DEP, SE 10 3674, demolish existing dwelling and cottage, construct new dwelling and cottage. Amendment is to move the cottage to the east and reconfigure the driveway, Phase 2.
David
How
Clark,
are
Clark
you?
Engineering. Good afternoon. So, as Catherine said, this is Phase 2. Mr. Detweiler was in the process of getting construction bids, and a couple of contractors basically said that they couldn't guarantee, or we're not confident that they could build the retaining wall was permitted on the west side of the cottage without removal of the trees. There's about 8 trees, one contractor said that he thought he couldn't save. So Mr. Detweiler asked that if we can go through the permitting process to move the cottage 6 feet to the east. And so that's what you see before you. Because we're moving it to the east, it was getting close to some trees on the east side of the cottage, so we reduced the width of the deck on that side. In addition, there was some concerns from the commissioners the first time about the large oak tree in the turning area of the driveway for the cottage, and Mr. Detweiler has those same concerns, so we've done away with that turning area, so that area won't get disturbed, because he really wants to preserve as many trees as possible. So at the end of the day, we are pushing the cottage further into the no disturb zone, but there's a reduction in the 50 to 100, and the changes that are proposed, the reduction of the driveway, the reduction of the deck, results in 270 or so square feet less site coverage than was on the original approved plan. So there's overall site reduction in site coverage. And this has to go back to the zoning board of appeals too, because the cottage is non-conforming, so we have to go back to modify that permit.
Right, I have down, I think the year was ZBA on April 10th.
I think so.
Yes. Okay. Anybody have any questions, comments?
Where do I sign? I mean, I think it's great.
Yeah, I'd like to commend the owner for saving as many trees as he could.
Yes. Anybody else? Okay. I mean, while I don't love that it's more in the NDZ, I think that the benefits far outweigh the detriments to it. If nobody has anything, then I think we can move it to an order, amended order, and you are on April 10th, so it has to be after that.
Oh, yeah, was it the 23rd is, or 22nd is a meeting?
I'm looking, 23rd
23rd.
is the next one after the 10th. So, is
got
that
it.
okay?
Yes.
I move that we continue. Where's the address?
108 Beach Plum.
Apologies, 108 Beach Plum Road for an amended order of conditions on April 23rd, 2025.
Second.
Okay, Cheryl.
Aye.
Paul.
Aye.
Janet.
Aye.
Elise.
Aye.
Eric.
Aye.
Bob.
Aye.
And I say aye. So we'll have that on the 23rd, and hopefully nothing's goes wrong with ZBA, and we're all set.
Right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Catherine, the next.
Okay, a request for determination of applicability at 75 Plum Daffy Lane, map 9A, parcel D14, for Plum Daffy 2008 nominee trust, R25-3, enclosed space below existing covered porch.
And he's back.
David Clark again, Clark Engineering, on behalf of the applicant. I don't think anybody was on the commission when this was built in 2007. But at that time, we presented and the commission accepted the delineation of the coastal bank as being the top of the revetment. There's a shelf down there, and it was concluded that that was first observable break. At that time, the floodplain was within the revetment, and obviously the 2014 FEMA changes elevated significantly the floodplain in this area. And so now the floodplain is in the upper portion of the bank, and so the top of the bank is moved to where most everybody would consider where the coastal bank is now. So that places a significant portion of the house now within the aura. That being said, there was a porch that was constructed on the first floor level, and it's open below. There's access into to the basement area, and the applicant wishes to enclose that. There's an existing retaining wall retaining the area between the house and the top of the bank that's just underneath the deck, so no excavations required. They may have to put in a footing in a frost wall on the north side of that addition, but that's very minimal work. And again, really, there's no increase in site coverage because it's underneath the covered porch. I believe we don't have to go to zoning board of appeals on that. There was some discussion last week, but I think all the issues were resolved.
All they said was the proposed building height must be provided to ensure that the addition to the dwelling does create a new nonconformity as to the maximum allowable building height of 30 feet.
We resolved that, yeah. So we submitted a new plan to the building department, basically showing that the grade plane remains the same after construction.
Any commissioners with questions, comments? Go ahead, Bob.
I got one question, David. There's 3/4-inch stone there now. Is there any problem with drainage in that area? I know there's a gutter up along the roof line, but, okay.
No, that was just to create a surface so they didn't track in dirt into the basement.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yeah,
Go ahead,
just
Jan.
to clarify, so there's no need to do any excavation
I don't believe so.
at all? Okay, good, then I'm happy.
So I just have a question. Down in the construction access, there is a tree/shrub that has pink ribbon, pink, plastic on it. So are they removing?
We staked the limit of work, but I don't know if it's on a shrub, I don't know what the purpose
It's
of that.
like a little tree, but
Little skinny tree.
very skinny. But I was just curious because it wasn't mentioned and it's not on the plan as being removed.
No.
Just curious. There's actually one way further up towards the road too, but that isn't in our jurisdiction, so. That one that I'm talking about, I wasn't sure. I think it's within the outer aura. So I was just curious. So maybe if somebody could remove that pink off that tree, that would be wonderful. Because I couldn't figure out why it needed to be removed.
Yep.
It's really what.
I don't know if it's slated for removal unless it's something to do with the landscaping that, seasonal maintenance or
Yeah.
whatever.
Well, maybe we can say no trees are going to be removed. And that would take care of that. All right, doesn't look like anybody has any other.
I had
Oh,
one.
I'm sorry,
One
Eric.
comment I noticed, does not really pertain to it. Do they, I noticed some pretty extensive cutting on the bank. Do they have permit for that? You know?
There was mitigation proposed back in 2007. I think some of it was invasive species control on the.
Yeah, there's a lot of junk on the bank. I was just curious, because it was, especially looking towards the east. It goes down quite a ways, and it's, it's cut pretty low. I just wasn't sure if, if they have a permit, fine. If they don't, they should probably get one, That's my only comment on that.
Yep, I didn't look at the old order. I know there was mitigation proposed, but I don't know if there were any ongoing conditions for the maintenance of those plantings.
Okay. Then I think we can go to a motion to approve. Yeah, which negative determination? It's in the, thank you, it's in the outer aura, so it's a negative 3. Is that a 3? I think it's a 3. 2, I think, is in the NDZ. I have to find it. I have it listed somewhere. Yeah, it does. I don't think we do it often enough.
This doesn't stick.
Resources, let's see. Where is it? Definition index.
Well, we could just say negative and then add the number in later.
That's what we
No,
used to
we-
do before Nikki
Okay,
came along.
wait.
I remember.
Okay, yes, it is, it's a negative 2. Negative 3 is in, work in buffer zones. Negative 2 is in resource. Oh, that's true.
So it's 3.
3. So it's
I'll need a
3.
sticky note on that one.
Yeah.
Are we ready? Okay. I move that we approve the RDA on 75 Plum Daffy as a negative 3.
Second.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Janet?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
And I say aye.
Thank
So
you.
you're all set. Okay,
Okay, we have a request for a determination of applicability at 80 Stage Harbor Road, map 14D, parcel C1, Town of Chatham, R25-2, beach grass and Phragmites removal.
who's going to speak to this one?
I believe Paul will be speaking to
Paul, are you?
Yep, I am here and I will speak to it. Susan from Park and Rec is in the audience as well. If Catherine, can you put up a photo of the beach conditions, the aerial?
I have both I'll share both photos and then the application.
Okay. Okay, I'll wait. Oh, no, I won't. We'll keep it going. So essentially, this is a project to remove Phragmites and beach grass, which has grown well into the public beach area. As everyone knows, this is a very, yeah, there it is. This is a highly used free beach. It's a kiddie beach. It gets a lot of use, and these frags are growing fast through rhizomes, and they're sort of eating up the area where people used to put their chairs and recreate. So what we're proposing to do is the town, through the Department of Public Works, who did a site visit with us, myself and Ted Keon, and Amy from Park and Rec was with us. So we'd be removing those frags and the beach grass that you see. They'd have to use a small machine to dig down and get those root systems out of there. Otherwise, they'll just keep proliferating They'll probably come back at some point. A couple of years back, this was done, and, you know, it only takes a few years for these things to get to this point. There's also a couple of benches up by the building, which isn't in the shot, that have been buried in, you know, through wind sand deposits that they'll uncover. And then Ted will provide clean dredge material sand that we can deposit onto the beach. And that's essentially the project, to remove the vegetation and sort of reestablish and reclaim the beach for the general public's use.
Thank you. This is nice to see.
And I don't know if Susan wants to add anything?
No, just to speak to, when I worked with Ted on the project in 2022, we had received numerous phone calls from residents and visitors that the beach was shrinking and shrinking. So this would really be a beneficial project for people that use this beach. And yes, it's highly used by young families and children because the water is so, you know, there's no waves there. So that's really all I have to add unless somebody has a question for me.
No sharks either.
No sharks either. Wow. Ugh.
Thank you. Anybody have any comments, questions? Bob?
I got a couple
Eric?
of questions. The Phragmites, I know beach season is coming up, so this has to be done physically with a machine and removed. But when it starts to reoccur, is there any way to treat it, like maybe in the fall?
Yeah, I think that's possible, Bob. That's a great idea, actually. Hadn't thought of that. We could just, you know, spot treat them the way you do all Phragmites and see how we do with that. But that's a good suggestion, and it might avoid having to bring a machine back in sooner rather than later. You know, the rhizomes are all over the place out there. They're even in areas where there's sand that you can see in this photo. So they're going to start popping up. So how well the machine does, I don't know, but yes, we can do that. That's a good suggestion. Thank you.
Okay, and also the patch of beach grass that's there, is there any way that can be transplanted to an area at that beach or at another beach?
I think we could probably do it at this beach. You know, the timing is right. So there's a little clump there next to the Phragmites, and then there's one on the left on the picture where there's a lifeguard stand, and there's some a small amount, maybe 5 or 6 square feet there. We could replant that over on the other side, or you know, on the back area of the beach.
Yeah, that would be great. I'd hate to, I know, where the beach grass comes up against the Phragmites, I don't know if that can be saved, because you'd probably pick up some rhizomes, and you'd probably, you know, you'd probably contaminate another area of the beach, but especially where the beach grass is standing alone, you know, if you can save it, you know, that'd be great.
Okay, we can do that. I will be out there the day that Tom Barr brings his crew out with the DPW to do this, and someone from Park and Rec hopefully will be there as well, and we'll make sure the grass gets transplanted.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, just maybe you already said it. Where do you have to take the Phragmites where are you going to dump them, at the municipal compost section?
Oh, my.
Yeah, I don't think that's where they put them, because they'll end up in everybody's yard. But I think there's a place behind the Department of Public Works where they do put them. It's not the same kind of treatment you would have for knotweed, but there is an area that I believe they have that they can get rid of it and put it. They'll just rot. They'll take them out and put them there, but they won't go over to the transfer station and get into that compost pile. Otherwise, they'll get mixed in, and that's happened with knotweed in the past, from what I understand, from private landowners going in there and dumping stuff. Yeah, so it's a good point. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
We'll find a good place for them.
What? Go ahead, Paul.
We'll
Paul,
find a good spot for them to dump them.
hey, Paul, once all that's with the beach grass and the Phragmites are removed, is there going to be a need to add sand to that, or can they just rake it?
No, they'll have to add sand, because there'll be a hole there
Yeah.
probably. And it wouldn't be a bad idea, we thought, to add the sand that Ted has is high grade, dredge material, and it'd be nice to put that down on the beach, and they'll spread it out as far as
I
it'll
agree.
go. Right now, I think it's a couple of truckloads. I can't give you cubic yards. I don't have that in front of me, but, that was the plan, basically, to spread it around, as much as we could, as necessary.
Thanks.
Anybody else? So, which negative is it? Two?
It's two.
That's what I was thinking, but I want to make sure.
Yep.
-2, Paul?
Yes.
Okay.
I move that we approve the RDA on 80 Stage Harbor as a -2.
Second?
Cheryl?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Janet?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
And I say aye. Okay, we're on to the next.
Okay, we have notice of intent at parcel H13, Captain Knowles Way, map 11C, parcel H13, for Minglewood Homes Incorporated, Mass DEP, SE 10, 3722, construction of a harbor access stairs over a coastal bank.
David Clark again, Clark Engineering on behalf of Minglewood Homes. Hope you have the revised plans as well as the revised mitigation plan. The zoning board of appeals approved this. They were happy with the commission's suggested changes to make the lower section removable, so we've done that. I don't know if there was anything else that was outstanding on this.
Anybody have anything? Go ahead, Bob.
At the toe of the bank, David, there's some erosion. Is there any way, and that's a steep bank, where I think rainwater would tend to erode it further as well. Plus, I think with the tides, it's starting to erode. Any plans to do anything at the toe, just to kind of?
I don't know if Jen wants to speak to that or not.
Yeah, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
Excellent. For the record, Jen Crawford from Crawford Land Management. Yeah, I know the area that you're talking about. It doesn't seem like it's significant at this time. However, we did include in our revised plans some grasses and forbs to go in any of the disturbed areas or areas that may be disturbed due to the construction of the stairs. So we can certainly make sure, and I think we were pretty generous in what we calculated and put in there. So I don't really anticipate that we would need as many as what we actually listed on the plan. So we can certainly try to use some of those grasses down near the bottom. That could help. But it is a shady area, and it is, it does get inundated every once in a while, clearly, as there's a little bit of erosion. But it did not seem to me, and David, maybe you could weigh in, it didn't seem to me that it was active in terms of getting worse in any of the times that I've seen it.
Yeah, will that toe be filled in before you plant?
We could, I guess, we could blanket it. We could add a little bit of sediment and blanket it and see if we can get something to establish there fairly quickly.
It looks like it's
such a small
undermining a
area.
bit, that's all.
It's less than a foot
Yeah.
high.
Yeah.
And it's above the extreme high water mark, so it really is a very high course tide that affects that area.
Anything that would be an improvement. And if you could put a note on the plan or make note of it somehow that you would do that.
Yeah, it's such a small area. I don't think that's a heavy lift to be able to try and add some supplemental vegetation down there. And as long as we don't get any super high tides right away and it has a chance to establish for a little bit, it may take fairly readily. So we can certainly give it a shot. It's a pretty small area.
Okay, thank you. And the plugs, are they shade tolerant as well?
Yes.
And
believe so.
you'll be planting underneath the stairway as well?
Yep, anywhere that we can reasonably get to or that doesn't already have vegetation, because that area is fairly open. So yeah, we should be able to do that. And everything that we specified on our plug list is very much shade tolerant. I'm looking at it, so yes.
Okay, thank you.
One of the commissioners made mention of the tree that was down over the beach. That is 2 properties to the east.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
And I looked at Google Earth, and you can see that tree over the years if you go back, and it's over the river,
now
over
it
the
is.
salt marsh a few years ago, and now it's on the salt marsh.
Sliding further. Okay, just good to know. No, I have one question. I have a comment for Jen. Just wanted to say, Jen, that I very, very much appreciate the way that you color-coded these photographs to illustrate the areas that are being pruned and the saplings that are coming out. That's a brilliant way of doing it. Thank you. Do this all the time.
I have to say, yeah, thank you. It was Dylan from my office. He was the one that compiled that information, so I can't take credit.
Pat him on the back. Give him a raise.
That was really his method.
It's good. No, it's just, it's very,
He'll appreciate that. He's listening.
okay, love it.
So I just have a couple things. At one point, we asked if the bottom area, which the bottom part it is now a removable section, but what is it going to be made of? We had asked about aluminum.
It will be aluminum.
Okay. And then Jen, I have a question for you. On the mitigation schedule, the mitigation shrubs, you say is a total of 26. I'm seeing that there's 10. And I'm wondering, there was 14, now there's 10, but it says there's 26.
You're absolutely right. It does say that there are 26. Dylan is on. If you have if there are anything hidden in here, or if it's just a miscalculation, please chime in. But I am seeing the same thing you are.
Okay.
Yeah, hi, Dylan Lance. I believe that is a miscalculation.
So it should be 10,
Yes.
I assumed. So that'll just need to be updated. That's not going to stop anything, but just so you know. Eric?
Nothing.
Bob?
No, all set.
More? Okay, Paul? Cheryl? Elise? Nope.
I do have a note here that says, what are the plantings under the stairway? But I think you may have addressed that.
That's the plugs.
Plugs, right. Okay, because I have something about sedge, so I was just curious if.
Sedge is one of them.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's one of them, yes.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Then, while I really wish the stairs could have been moved, but I understand, and I do like that there's not a lot of trees coming out and all of that, but I do wish there had been a better area. Having said that, I guess we can go to an order.
Do we need a date?
Well, we do. That's why I'm waiting for David maybe to say or Jen, what they'd like.
I'm here and available. I'm not going anywhere in the next few weeks, so whatever works for David works for me.
Yeah.
April 9?
I mean, we could do, even April 2nd is really.
That's too tight. We have to
Yeah,
advertise
it's an awfully tight, it's like a nothing meeting. Okay, we could do April 9th.
Sounds good.
Okay.
I move that we continue Captain Knowles Way, PCLH 13, to April 9th for an order of conditions.
Second.
Okay, Cheryl,
Aye.
Paul,
Aye.
Janet,
Aye.
Elise.
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
and I say aye.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next.
We have a notice of intent at 186 Strong Island Road, map 13M, parcel 48, for David and Judith Doino, Mass DEP SE 10 3724, construction of an 8 by 18 swimming pool and expansion of existing patio, seasonal rollout boardwalk, seasonal access steps, installation of mitigation plantings, invasive plant management, and native plant restoration. The applicant has requested a continuance to April 2nd, 2025.
I move that we continue 186 Strong Island Road to April 2nd, 2025.
Second.
Okay, Cheryl,
Aye.
Paul,
Aye.
Janet,
Aye.
Elise,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
and I say aye.
Okay, we have a notice of intent at 176 Stage Island Road, map 14A1, parcel 2-D107, for John H. Kim, trustee, Mass DEP SE 10 3725, pier repair and modification.
Or you,
Good afternoon. For the record, Raul Lizardi with Cape and Islands Engineering, and Mike here from Blue Flags Design. This project was presented last month, or 3 weeks ago, and you got continued to provide some supplemental information for this filing. So there was a supplemental information submitted. There was a cover letter with the information listing the information that was submitted. One of the items that was asked for was the area calculation table. Apparently, the commissioners did not find it in their packets. It was included in page 5 of the Chatham application form, but in this supplemental application, we resubmitted it with updated numbers. One of the things that we added to that table is that the table is specific to the buffer zones, but the work that we're doing is actually in the resource area. So we added a second table at the bottom to quantify the project within the actual resource areas, which is the beach and the coastal bank. There was also a variance request added to the application because we are actually doing work within the resource area. And there was a breakdown of alternatives analysis. And it's a typical alternative analysis starting with doing nothing and allowing the structure to completely fail and the coastal bank to continue to erode. Combinations of doing the reconstruction of the structure and not doing any of the shoreline stabilization, and also an alternative of doing the stairs reconstruction with a pier, but also doing a CES shoreline stabilization instead of a soft solution as currently proposed. There was also the request to propose tree replacement for the one fallen tree that we're proposing to remove, and that's being added to the project. And also showing on the plans the extent of the native or the invasive removal and replacement with native. And the plan has been updated with that. Yesterday, we were informed that this project, even though it's a pier structure that predates the zoning requirements for a special permit, the pier dates back to the 1970s. We reached out to the Community Development Office, and we spoke with Sarah Clark, and there's going to be an application filed with them to just document and file for a special permit with the Board of Appeals. We understand that process is going on. The applicant and homeowner is aware and has started that application with the Board of Appeals. If there's any specific questions, we'll be happy to answer.
did you get a letter from 150 saying that they give permission?
So we are still waiting on that letter. I have talked to her yesterday in person, but I'm
Okay.
still waiting for the
'Cause we do
response
need
in
that,
writing.
but we're not going to be able to do much with this, at least go to an order until after you have a date for the ZBA.
We understood, and the applicant has been informed about this, a little setback, and we were in touch with the town zoning board department, and it looks like as soon as they can get us into a hearing will be in May.
Oh, wow. I thought it was June at this point. I thought. That's better. Yeah, you're doing better than what I've heard. Anybody have any questions, comments? Go ahead, Bob.
I got one question. Where the brick path is leading down to the structure, it's pretty steep there, and I'm wondering, during a heavy rain event, if water runs down that and adds to the problem with the erosion. And I'm wondering if you can put a dry well at the base of that brick path.
So at the base of the brick path, that will be, I believe, a problem because this is the area that has been eroded from the bottom up when the big erosion happened. So if we were to put something at the base of that path, the water will filtrate through the soils and it will be at the face of the bank, which we're shoring up, and we have some of the duckbill anchoring systems. So I think that will probably not be an ideal location.
Maybe further up the path then.
What we can do is that when we're going to be rebuilding, we're taking away the lowest landing of this brick path. The one preceding it, we can just make it that it has a 12-inch crushed stone base so that it allows some filtration, but higher in elevation and not like a dry well that will go right into what we're shoring up with the soft solution. But maybe that last landing, that at this point will be the second to last that exists today, that one could get some filtration coming down. Now, physically looking at the path, we didn't see any rut lines from water coming down the slopes along the path, the brick paths. The erosion that's happening is just a result from tidal storms hitting the toe of the bank.
It wouldn't hurt though, right, to put some kind of a drainage mechanism?
So correct. If we do the reconstruction of that last landing with a little more gap between the brick setup and set it up on like a 12-inch bed of crushed stone, that will be better in that it filtrates whatever water gets to that point.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Anybody else? Go ahead, Jan.
Just one thing to say, thank you for submitting the variance request and the alternatives analysis. I found it thorough and very helpful. Well done. Thank you for that. That's all.
We had asked for a description of the invasives that are going to be removed, and I didn't see that. Is that in the notes? Is this in the notes of the plan notes? Well, it shows but what invasives they are.
Oh, there is a note saying that it's shrub honeysuckle.
Oh, shrub honey, okay. I just want, yeah, I didn't highlight it. That was my problem. Thank you for that. I don't see anything else. Does anybody else have anything? Then, we do need that letter, and we do need to continue this. We can continue it, I think, for an order, but the order is not going to happen until you see ZBA. So if they're on May, could we continue it to June 4th?
We can take that date.
If you want earlier, we could do it, and you might have to request a continuance if you haven't been before ZBA.
Right. I think the date that Sarah gave me yesterday on the phone was towards the end of May, so it was May 28th.
Yeah, which
So
it's probably 29th or something.
Right, and
Yeah,
if
and
this
our
board-
next is June 4th after that.
So if this board is just waiting for that open hearing at ZBA, not necessarily closing, I would think that getting that late May ZBA hearing, the first week of June, if we need to continue because of whatever happens with ZBA, we'll just
Exactly.
request that.
Yeah, which just, we need a date to put down.
Right, so
Okay, so we could continue it to June 4th for an order.
I move that we continue 176 Stage Island Road to June 4th, 2025 for an order of conditions.
Second.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Janet?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
And I say aye. So.
Thank you.
We'll see you June 4th. Thank you. Okay, Catherine.
Okay, we have a notice of intent at 27 Strong Island Road, map 12M, parcel 16-B19 for William C. Benjamin, Mass DEP, SE 103726. Replacement of existing patios, walkways, and dry-laid ashlar bluestone and dry-laid brick. Reconfigure patio steps and landscape improvements.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, William
Hi.
Benjamin, 27 Strong Island Road. Here I am again, and I submitted last week a revised landscaping plan that I think took into account the various suggestions and requests that were made at the last hearing.
Yes, thank you very much for listening and doing so much work.
Among other things, we're now proposing to retain 4 of the existing beach plums rather than only 1. We're proposing to plant 2 new trees to mitigate the removal of the invasive Bradford pear tree. And we've expanded some of the other mitigation plantings.
So just for everybody's benefit, because I have heard why you've put that mitigation, the swamp azaleas, which you gave us more, which is great, makes it, can you just explain why you're placing those there? Because I've heard, and, it explains a lot, so thank you.
Well, it seems to be the most appropriate place, given that as we drive in the driveway, we'd like to leave a corridor between the existing beach plum that you see on the right-hand side up there and the tree further to the right. So that area we'd like to leave open.
And isn't it a bit wet where you're placing these, which swamp azaleas do well? And I thought there was something.
There's also that. I mean,
Yeah.
if you look at the floodplain in that area, it is relatively moist.
Great. Thank you. Anybody have any questions, comments? I'd also like to thank Catherine for working with you and helping you get this set.
As would I. I greatly appreciate it.
Anybody?
Kudos to you for doing all this work and taking it
Yes.
on.
Look at all the money you saved.
You've done a beautiful, yeah, exactly.
Spend it on the plants.
Done a beautiful job.
Yeah. Then I think we can go to an order. We're really getting to the orders today. So, April 9th or April 23rd, do you have a preference?
Let's try for April 9.
Okay.
I move that we continue 27 Strong Island Road to April 9th, 2025 for an order of conditions.
Second.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Janet?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
And I say aye.
As do I.
Oh, I'm sorry,
That's all
Elise. Oh, my gosh, I'm really messing up today. My mind's not here.
I'm with you.
Okay,
All right, thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Catherine.
Okay, certificate of compliance at 77 Geranium Drive, map 8D, parcel R2 for Larry
Capitalupo.
Delopo.
Capitalupo, Mass DEP SE 10-2071, view pruning and pathway improvement.
Okay, and is there a recommendation?
Paul has the recommendation on this one.
Okay,
Hi, Madam Chair, Commissioners. Just a little bit of brief background. Mr. Capodilupo needed to file this. This is an order issued 21 years ago for the removal of 2 trees. And at that time, there was also, the commission picked up on a staircase that was built out of sort of cinder blocks going down the bank, which is kind of grown in now and abandoned. I think taking that out would cause more damage than anything. So I believe I talked to maybe Janet and a couple of commissioners way back about just leaving that in there. So this is just cleaning up an old outstanding certificate. The application is not complete, but I've been out there many times, and as you know, we worked with him on a restoration order. The order was approved, and we worked with Bill Riley on that, and also, I believe we issued a letter indicating that he satisfied his issue under the restoration order. And Crystal can back me up on that one, I hope. But it's a simple 2 trees cut 20-something years ago, and a cinder block staircase that's gonna stay in place on the bank. It's just so overgrown, it just doesn't make any sense to do anything but leave it right there. So I'd recommend approval.
Thank you.
Pretty simple one.
Anybody have any questions?
I just have a quick question. So this has nothing to do with the cutting of the bank that's being done now?
There is, no, this is a certificate of compliance for an order that was issued
A long time ago.
in 2004.
Do they,
This
No,
do they have a permit?
It doesn't have anything to do with anything that's going on out there right now. There
It's
should,
not the violation.
I'll have to go out
So
and
you
look.
got I'm sorry, okay, you got something going on.
Yeah.
Okay, that's it, thank you.
Paul, is there any way to request photos? Would that be appropriate?
Well, I guess we could try to get photos of the cinder blocks, where they're exposed, but the trees are long since gone. I can, I'll take another run out there to make sure that nothing else is going on. They are doing restoration work, so.
Oh, there's stuff
hopefully-
going on. The brush is on the top of the hill that they just cut all the plants down.
Well, yeah, well, I don't want to get too far into that, but I'll report back to you, but, they're supposed to remove stuff and bring it up, and I'll go out and check it out to make sure they're in compliance, but, this has got nothing to do with that right now.
So since it's.
And I'll
since-
get you a couple of photos.
So since it's old, Paul, I hear you.
Sure.
I forgot that it was from 2004. The photos, that's a long time ago.
Yeah, it's not even in my property thing because it's so long ago. All right. So can I have a motion, please?
I move we approve the certificate of compliance for 77 Geranium Drive.
Second.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Janet?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
And I say aye. Okay, the next one, please.
Certificate of compliance request at 128 Arbutus Trail, map 8K, parcel G20 for Joy Curtis, Mass DEP SE 102888, maintenance of a pre-existing vista. I recommend approval for the COC for 128 Arbutus Trail with the condition that the approval lives with the property owner and not the property itself in accordance with condition number 9.
This order, back when it was written for all of us who, it's not attached to owners anymore, but this way, we thought if it's attached to the owner, if they happen to sell, then it becomes null and void, and somebody else can't keep pruning, not knowing they'll have to come back before us. So that was the thought process for,
It's a really good idea.
Well, I don't think much has been going on there for view pruning for quite some time.
no, but
Yes, but let's use it again.
yeah.
That's a good idea.
So that's why we're recommending that as the ongoing condition. Jen, did you have anything to say?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we weren't involved in this from the beginning or anything like that. We had a call from this homeowner, and she had said that it had been a number of years since they had done any vista pruning there, but she would like to do vista pruning. So we started looking into the old permit and the order of conditions. We had a conversation with Crystal about it, and Crystal's recommendation was, since it was still open, but it had this provision to allow for ongoing pruning with this same owner, that we make an assessment and come before you for a certificate of compliance and get that cleaned up, and then be able to utilize that ongoing condition to do some maintenance pruning for her, and hopefully I think we will do a better job than however it was done last time. And we made a few recommendations at the end of our letter that we submitted to you, but that's really all I have on this one. It kind of came into us through just a random phone call, so.
Great, thank you.
Sure.
All right, anybody have any questions, comments? Eric?
No.
Okay. Then we can have a motion.
I move that we approve the certificate of compliance on 128 Arbutus Trail with the conditions following with the owner as requested.
Second.
Okay, Cheryl?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Janet?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
And I say aye. Okay. We are on
Thank you.
to minutes.
Minutes to be approved for February 12, 2025, February 26, 2025, and March 5th, 2025.
Okay. So we are going to have to take these, I think, separately because different people were missing at different meetings. Thank you, guys. So the February 12th, does anybody have any modifications, comments, anything, additions? Okay, then we can have a motion for February 12th.
I move that we approve the minutes of the meeting for February 12th, 2025.
Eric?
Second.
Cheryl?
Abstain.
Paul?
Aye.
Janet?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
And I say aye. Okay. The next is February 26th. Does anybody have any modifications, additions? Okay, then we can have a motion.
I move that we approve the minutes for February 26th, 2025.
Second.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Janet?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Bob?
Abstain.
And I say aye. Okay, the third, March 5th. So, okay, I think, anybody have any modifications? Okay, we can have a
I
motion.
move that we approve the minutes for March 5th, 2025.
Second.
Okay, Cheryl,
Aye.
Paul,
Aye.
Janet,
Abstain.
Elise,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Bob,
Abstain.
and I say aye. So that's done. Okay, Catherine, the next thing.
Okay, we have an update to the violation spreadsheet. I don't know if you want me to go over the updates on it?
I think
Or-
any modification, anything that's changed since last month, new additions, completions, whatever.
Okay, 107 Taylor's Pond, the homeowner requested to close out the enforcement order, and Paul let the applicant know that he wants to sign off from CLM that all work was completed. So that's in motion. Then for 77 Geranium, the restoration order was issued 2/15/24. The COC was requested and approved today.
That's a
That
different
was-
COC.
Yep,
So the restoration order is still open.
yes.
So I will talk to Paul on that one.
Yep.
And he will go back out there and look at that. And for 314 Cockle Cove, we had an on-site with the landscaper 2 days ago and discussed the steps moving forward, and they will be submitting an after-the-fact NOI for the work completed and the mitigation for that work.
Yes.
I'm working with them.
Good.
93 Orleans Road, Paul has had communication with the homeowner, and there will be modifications to be determined on the mitigation work that's there.
Just a
So then there's,
Do you want to say
I don't know if
something
Paul
about
wants to
that?
address.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Catherine, didn't mean to interrupt. Yeah, Mr. Ferguson and I ran into each other here at the parking lot at the annex. He is ill and has requested to decrease the number of plants on the property. I told him to present something, and I'm waiting for that. And when I get it, I will present it to you. But I didn't make any guarantees that you would approve anything. But he is claiming, sort of financial hardship because of his illness and isn't working as much and wants to reduce the scale. So that's the update at this point.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Okay, and then there's the two properties that were served by the constable, the 314 Morris Island Road and 114 Potanumaket.
Yes,
That's good.
Never.
that's very good.
You did well.
Those two were served and we've had no response, so the idea moving forward is that we are gonna let the other permitting departments within the town know that those have not responded to our letters, so
Or
potentially
the
not.
constable.
And not responded to the constable serving them, so potentially not allowing other permits until it's corrected in our division.
When do we ever tap into our authority to start issuing fines for non-responsiveness?
Paul, have we determined when we can issue fines on that?
Yeah, there's a limited period from the time of the discovery of the violation. It's a one-time fine, by the way, even though the bylaw says, multiple
Yeah.
days. The Attorney General issued a decision a few years back to all towns that had the language that we have in our bylaw. You can only issue one $300 one-time
$300, that's it?
fine. Yeah, that's it, unfortunately. So I'm not sure that's
Oh, well.
gonna
never-
accomplish anything. Yeah, maybe this might be one instance where we might want to try to record the order at the registry and put everybody on notice. It's been done in Orleans, it's been done in Dennis once, and Orleans was about to do it. They never had to, but in these cases where people don't respond, something has to be done. And
Let's put them in the paper, Chronicle.
Yes.
well,
Well, he can legally do it because.
Notice of right.
I mean, the only way that that works
Name and
wonderful,
shame.
because all the neighbors at the cocktail party notice that, oh, hey, you haven't been doing, what are you in the paper for? It brings action. The other thing I was gonna talk about, because it seems like everybody's like, so when I asked, does the person have a permit to cut everything down, like 2 feet on a bank, and was there a permit or what? That's why I asked if they're permitted to cut everything down on the banking, and then there's no answer. And then it disappears, and I never hear about it again. And this has happened a few times. So if the one on Plum Daffy, if they don't have a permit, then what does it take? I mean, the town makes money on permits. They make money on permits and through the process to help pay for the employees for the town to do what they gotta do. So I'm all for it if they wanna trim a banking to get a permit, and then it's fine. But if they don't have a permit, when I was in business, we would be hung by our toes. We would have to come in front of the Conservation Commission and get reamed in front of everybody because we did a violation. I have never even seen that since I've been in here or talked about anybody. People are paying thousands of dollars to do it the right way. They're paying lawyers, they're paying engineers to represent them in planting organizations, and then these people here, they do it, and there's no consequences, it seems to me. I don't understand it. So to add to the violation list, I'd like to know if the person on Plum Daffy has a permit to trim everything down 2 feet high on the banking, all the way down on the east side. And also, the other one there, I just said that they cut all the plants down 2 feet high on Cocker Cove. If they didn't, then that's a violation. And encourage people to get a permit if they want to cut. And then we can regulate when they cut, what time of year they cut. That's what we're here, also not to be bad, but also to make sure that we save the wildlife, because if you don't educate people, not everybody knows, they might cut the stuff in the summer.
Right.
And kill all the birds. I know what it's like. I've been in business. You trim, you end up with a nest exposed to the environment with the little babies looking up and at the sky. You know they're gonna get killed by a predator bird. So this is, I think, also part of what we're here for, you know?
Oh, I don't disagree.
So I think it should be written down what we discuss, and then add it to your violation list and see how it goes.
And we can. And I do think, because you did bring up Plum Daffy, and I saw Catherine noting all of this.
Well, I
think
like
part
noting,
of
but I
it-
also like it written down, because there's
Right.
been a lot of addresses that were noted, but I don't
Well,
see them
this
on
is
here.
what she's working on currently.
All right.
There is a larger list. The problem is.
Why can't we see the whole list?
Well, we can,
Well, I'd
but,
love to see the whole list.
okay. Next time, we will have the whole list as well, but they only have so much time. So they're trying to do a certain amount and close out a certain amount each month. And that's why we're getting these monthly updates now.
Well, I know, but some of them, they went back to 2018.
Oh, no, yes, and some of these properties are ones we selected as important to start dealing with.
Yeah, so I think maybe you should
So-
notify them that you're gonna put their name in the Chronicle, or we can invite Tim Wood to come in
Right.
the audience when
And-
we have our violation meeting, and he can,
I don't want to, Commissioner Hilbert, I don't want to say we're going to do that. I'd have to check with Director Berman before I
Yeah.
did anything like that. I
well,
could
it's
get in a lot of
public,
trouble.
but once we put it
I'll
on,
check.
once we put these violations on TV, because before we couldn't do it because it wasn't on TV. So now we have it on TV, we have their addresses, so it is public knowledge, right?
But we have to make sure that
Well,
we're allowed to put it in the paper.
That's different.
It is different, because they're not here being represented, with the opportunity to represent themselves, because some of these people are
Well,
not
then
responding.
let's-
We could get around that by
So-
listing the addresses on the violation updates and putting the notice out there that we're gonna talk about, for example, whatever.
Yeah, and
You
maybe
know.
we
Well,
do
they don't
that
care, no
is
one
add
watches us
it-
anyway.
Maybe we.
Well, but you've
add-
satisfied the notice requirement by doing that, and that way, if they don't show up, then.
Well, what if you said that
And a
we're gonna
neighbor
put,
might
we're
notice.
gonna ask our legal counsel if we can put this violation in the Chronicle? And then maybe that'll get
Oh,
their
we can-
attention.
We can ask.
I mean, you know,
And-
there's carrots, sticks, and clubs, and from 2018, there's a lot of carrots being thrown around.
But also, one of the things that came up yesterday was this idea that we let the permitting office know the ones that have been served and they're not responding at all. So if they go to get a beach permit or any permit, they see, the permit office has this list of addresses and they go, sorry, can't have that permit because you have a violation with the conservation, and until you respond to them.
Is it
we
that
are not-
coordinated so that if they want like a transfer station permit, that it would come up?
Exactly.
Sort of like the police database, you know, oh, your ticket from 1977.
So,
Yeah.
exactly.
There's
what
gotta
we're
be
thinking
more
is
that we can
any-
do.
Any permit, it might, it's something we can try. So that's why that came up. So I think everything's, you're right.
But I don't
We
wanna,
need-
you know, I'm not saying I wanna
but-
punish people because they're trimming on the bank. They need to be educated, they need to get a permit.
But
So
if
it can be
we-
regulated what they can do.
Let's say for April 23rd, which is next time we'll visit violations, if in the notice that goes into the paper, it says violations and it has the addresses that we are going to discuss, then I think that's allowed because they're being discussed and there's advance notice, and maybe that will have some effect as well. So I think that was a good idea. So I think between everything we're trying, you know, short of
And the fining.
staking out their house.
The fining stuff don't work.
Yeah, but, and we can only do one fine. So it really doesn't work. But that's our thoughts. And Catherine's made some real progress on this, and Crystal and Paul, because it takes all of them going to check things and noting what's going on. And there's, you know, a lot behind the scenes. So I very much appreciate that. And we're at least moving forward with violations, which was our goal.
Yeah, now that we've added a conservation I'm sorry, what was it, what's the assistant? Assistant, no, not assistant, you know.
Assistant
Agent.
Conservation Agent.
Assistant, yeah. You know, this stuff can get done now.
Well, that's what it is. That's, poor Catherine's been assigned this. So,
When
I
we went-
appreciate the update.
When we went to MAC, they couldn't believe it, most of the towns, that we had a secretary, a agent, and a assistant agent.
Well, shush, don't tell people.
They were like, what,
Don't
really?
tell. We keep that quiet. But I thank you for all the efforts. I think we are making progress. Some violations are going to come before us, and that's a good thing, and they're on top.
Because word does spread like wildfire. Oh, they're not going to do anything about it.
Yeah, well, that's what they
You can't
hope.
have that.
That's what it is. It already has spread like wildfire.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think we need one,
As far as
if
the
anybody
contractors
doesn't
are
have
concerned.
anything else, we need one more motion.
I move that we adjourn the meeting.
Second.
Cheryl?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
Janet?
Aye.
Elise?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Bob?
Aye.
And I say aye. So we are.